Hey, I'm Brad. Welcome back to the Banger Hanger. You know the drill. It's another episode of Overkill Reviews, our weekly metal review show. As always, this is brought to you by our Patreons. Without that, we couldn't keep making videos. So, hey, if you're so inclined, go sign up over there. I'm even a Patreon, so I can comment back and chat with you guys, and you can even vote on the albums that we cover. And I'm not saying you should vote for this, but you should vote for this. So, this week I'm reviewing a band from the home of Gwar, Lamb of God, and Municipal Waste, and they sound like none of them. Holy shit, the drums. Yep, it's the new album from Inter Arma, Sulphur English, out today on Relapse Records. So yeah, that clip, intense. Their bio, not so much. There's not a huge story to their bio. They just basically do all their talking through their music. The band formed in 2006 in Richmond, motherfucking Virginia. As far as I can tell, there's not really any drama with them. The main rotating member has been their bassist, with newbie Andrew LaCour starting last year. Pretty much every 3 years they put out a new genre boundary smashing album that gets a lot of critical acclaim, meaning they end the year on like best of lists. This is their 4th LP. Time to find out if it will continue or break their streak. This record starts out with this like piercing smoke alarm sound, which is all too appropriate given the cover. And it's disturbing enough, but then you get these horror movie sound effects, which are later approximated, albeit louder and more intense, via guitar and the instruments as a whole. This is a mood piece if I've ever heard one, and it definitely sets the tone. Yeah, this is the bleakest album that Inter Arma has ever made, and that's not a statement I make lightly. At times, they even approximate the like soul-sucking energy of personal favorites like Indian or Dragged into Sunlight. A waxen sea lurches with these Death Spell Omega blackened dissonant vibes. Well, Citadel is more on the death side of the equation, starting out with this like death, doom, din before going into a Morbid Angel-esque solo later. Both these songs are filled out with plenty of blast beats, which may surprise you if you've heard that these guys are a doom band, which is how I was initially introduced to the band. You're like, huh? A lot of blast beats? Doom band? Kinda weird. Are they a doom band? Yes and no. They certainly have elements of it, but then they have elements of the aforementioned death and black metal. They have elements of sludge. Some people have even compared them to Neurosis, calling them a post-metal band. And yeah, they kind of are, but with the intensity cranked way the fuck up. So I'm gonna not call them post-metal, I'm gonna call them most metal because they reference most metal subgenres. I just started my own sub-subgenre, motherfucker. The Atavis Meridian played earlier in the clip. It like rumbles along. It's as tender as it is terrifying, and it would be a far less exciting song with a lesser drummer, but this dude just like really keeps it captivating with he's just playing all over this thing. The closing title track is really the cherry on top of this album, taking the black and death vibes to cement its dour mood, and utilizing this sour string bend in like a weeping effect. Maybe the most effective usage that stuck out in my mind of that technique since Meshuggah's Bleed. And yeah, that's a bold statement, but hey, we didn't get here by just being wishy-washy. Mikey Allred, who engineered, mixed, and mastered this album, deserves an award for how fucking awesome this thing sounds. And like, it's got to sound pretty good for me to point this out, because I listen to some lo-fi shit, some great sounding shit. So for something to stand out in purely the sonic department, it really needs to stand out. The drums sound natural but huge, and the vocals are always perfectly captured. Be they the guttural bellows, the haunting croons, or the acidic screeching. Also, just shout out to the vocals in general on this album for taking whatever mood they're going for at that exact moment and just jacking it up to the next level. The low guitar tones are vicious and viscous, And that's a play on words that would look way better on paper, but hey, I'm a writer, what do you expect? And the more trebly tones kind of incorporate like a psych vibe into them, and when they go all like quiet and ballad-esque on Stillness, it feels proper Americana. Honestly, this is overall not a huge deal, but the sequencing gets to me a little bit, and I'll illustrate to you why. Howling Lands is a cool track that once again builds the mood, albeit this time through tribal drumming, Neurosis-esque dirges, and like Swans-style noise rock. This goes into Stillness, which debuted a while back as one of those Adult Swim singles. As I said before, this is as close as they get to like a downtrodden ballad. It's like goosebump-inducing, haunting, crooning, etc. It's also one of the main places where we get those psychedelic vibes that really drove the band's last album, Paradise Gallows, right down to its kaleidoscope-esque album artwork. From there, we get like an interlude, couple minutes of ambiance. Do you see what I'm saying? It's like the middle section here is cool, but it really it's 18 minutes that takes you out of the oppressive mood embodied by the rest of the album. And that embodiment goes right down to the crazy fire that probably ruined a lot of lives on the album cover. Inter Arma have never sounded darker than they do here. Apparently their name in Latin means like in war, commonly a part of a phrase which when translated says, in times of war, the law falls silent. And to be honest, this feels like the dreadful climax of that war where all hope is gone and there really are no laws. The midsection, yeah, it's appropriate. It feels kind of like mourning, which you would do in like such a terrible time, but it's probably not the best idea to do it right there in the middle of this climax when the mortars are flying and stuff. If you're like mourning and crying, you're probably gonna die. Again, it's still good, it just kind of takes you out of the moment. All I can say is that I hope with their next album, Inter Arma don't, conclude that war and then suddenly the rules are back and they just release like a more formulaic number. I mean, knowing this band, they would still pull it off, but then again, knowing this band, they would never play by the rules. So because of that, and this album just like embodying this like bleakness, I'm giving it 4 out of 5 skulls. Shoutout time. So I've got a couple shoutouts for albums that are coming out today. We've got Nekrasov and their album Lust of Consciousness on Prosthetic Records. They're like black metal mixed with power electronics, and considering black metal should pretty much be about evil and darkness, and power electronics is as ugly as it gets, it's a match made in hell. And then we've got Bather and their self-titled EP out on Appalachian Noise Records. If you like Inter Arma, chances are you'll like this. It's another one of those most metal bands. I'm gonna make that happen. It's gonna be a thing, all right? Speaking of most metal, that's us. We cover most metal as much as we can. So subscribe and see us talk about all of the metal. Peace.